Hello, sippers. I'm Martia,
I'm Demetrius.
And I'm Renee.
and welcome to this week's episode of Sippin' on Wine True Crime Podcast. Hey, ladies. Hey, sippers.
Hey, sippers. Hey,
Hey,
ladies. How are you guys doing?
I'm
glad
doing
to be back.
great.
Glad to
Yes,
be
same
back. Another
here.
week.
Back for another episode.
Yes. All right. So before we begin, let me tell the sippers what we are sipping on
Oh,
tonight.
yes.
Nice little wine
Let me let me
cocktail.
let me shuffle my ice over here because I put a little cubes in mine.
Yeah, this one is a good one. And I will put the non-alcoholic version of this up as well, but it's called the Penitent Punch. And the word is spelled Penitent punch. And basically, sippers, we're sipping on the wine version of a Long Island iced tea. It is so
Mm.
good, but it is super strong. So y'all know I pour
Yes.
heavy anyway. So we made the same drink tonight, but mine might be a little bit stronger than the ladies' tonight. But anyway,
As
sippers.
always.
Yep. So I'll be sure to post the drink and the ingredients on our Instagram
Yep.
page once we get ready to put this particular episode up. All right, ladies, are y'all ready?
Yes.
Let's get into it. What are we talking about this week?
Okay, sippers. So today we're going to discuss the case of Joshua Jenkins. Have y'all heard his name before?
Joshua Jenkins.
That
Yes,
sounds
Joshua
familiar,
Jenkins.
but I don't think so. What's the
Okay.
story behind it?
So I know his case has been featured on some shows, but I personally had not heard of Joshua Jenkins. I feel like I may have heard the story, right? When I started digging into this, I feel like I may have heard the story, but I'm not
Okay.
familiar with this case. The victims in this case are his adoptive parents, 50-year-old George and 48-year-old Aileen Jenkins, his adoptive grandparents, 78-year-old Bill and 74-year-old Evelyn Grossman, and also his 10-year-old
Ah.
younger sister, Megan.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Oh,
So,
wait a minute now.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So before I start speaking on this case, I did want to send my heartfelt sympathy out to the loved ones and friends of all the victims that we are about to discuss. Because although we are
Okay.
very interested in these true crime stories, I do want to make sure I take time to acknowledge those of whom these crimes have left a lasting impact on. So just wanted to put that out there before we begin, ladies. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so let's get into this case.
Okay.
48-year-old Eileen and 50-year-old George Jenkins were a happily married couple who lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, and they were enjoying a good life. They never had children of their own, but they adopted Megan and Joshua when they were just babies. 15-year-old Joshua Jenkins, he had a lot of challenges growing up, including some behavioral issues, some educational obstacles, and some health problems as well. He also exhibited mood swings and odd behavior that was scary for his family because he was raised in what one would consider a quote happy home. So, throughout the
Okay.
years, Joshua was in treatment for his troubles, starting as early as age 5 and continuing on throughout the years till he was a teenager. And according to police,
I
the
mean, 5.
5 years old,
Wait.
yes,
That's
yes.
how do you diagnose somebody at 5
Mm-hmm.
though?
I guess with all the different challenges he was having, from
Mm.
behavior issues to education and health. And I will say before I continue on, one thing I thought about with this case was the whole
Okay.
nature versus nurture. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think,
Okay.
with him being adopted and having all these different issues, but it started so
Okay.
early, right? So I thought about the nature versus
I've seen
nurture.
cases where they have diagnosed kids at a very, very young age for
Really,
stuff
that
like
is just.
schizophrenia. Yeah.
I mean, how? I mean, your mind, you're still developing
Yeah.
at
And I
that
can't even
age.
remember the
That's
name of it was this little girl, and I remember it was on the Oprah show a long time ago, and she was probably like 4, 5, 6 years old, and she was
wow.
schizophrenic, and she was, wanting to kill her parents and all that. And yeah, it
Yeah.
was crazy.
You can
And she was a
definitely
little girl
diagnose
at that
kids
time.
that early. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so, according to police, the family, the Jenkins family, they had a history of domestic disturbances, and they have record of George and Eileen having had to call the police on their son numerous times due to his violent tendencies and his numerous threats towards them. So, fast forward to February 96, and Joshua came up with a plan to kill his father. And he had threatened his father while he was armed with a rifle and a crossbow. Now, he was not successful in that attempt. And when authorities were called to the home, they never were able to find the crossbow or rifle. And Jonathan tried to say his dad took it away from him and hid it, but they never did find those weapons. But after that stunt, his parents decided it would be in their best interest to send Joshua away to a boarding school for troubled youth. The boarding school was called Vista Del Mar, and back in the 90s, it was a well-known school at that time, and it was located in Los Angeles, California. And when Joshua found out about his parents' plan, that's when everything began to spiral out of control. Joshua began to resent his parents for sending him away.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so on February 2nd, 1996, Eileen and George picked up Joshua for a weekend getaway to his grandparents' house, and it was then that things took a dark, grim turn. Joshua's grandparents, Bill and Evelyn, they lived in a decent condominium community in San Diego, California. When George and Eileen and Joshua got to Bill and Evelyn's condo, Eileen and Joshua had an argument. Now, unfortunately, just a little side note here, I was unable to find a source that gave the reason for the argument. But anyway, it was super heated. And after that argument, Joshua ended up murdering everyone in the house except his younger sister.
What?
So, yes. So he murdered his parents and his grandparents, but his 10-year-old sister at that time, Megan, he hadn't done anything to her.
And how old was he at this time?
He was 15 years old.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Okay.
And he bludgeoned his parents and grandparents to death with a hammer and stabbed them several times with a knife that he found in the residence. So all of the victims had stab wounds.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh.
All the victims had stab wounds to their chests and backs.
Mm-hmm.
Megan, like I said, she kind of escaped everything because she basically slept through the horrific crime. So that next morning, Joshua asked Megan to accompany him to a local hardware store, and he had his little sister help him pick out a new axe. Unfortunately, it would be the same axe that he would later use to kill her.
Oh my gosh.
Basically, when they got back to the condo after being at the store to pick out that axe, he stabbed his sister around 9 times to the heart and killed her. That same afternoon, one of Megan's friends, her name was Phaedra, and she called to speak to her. And Josh told her that, quote, something has come up and Megan's really busy right now and she can't talk. So he's basically in that house answering
with all
the phone,
those bodies,
telling lies with all those bodies. Exactly.
Oof.
I mean, how
At
did
only
she
age
not,
15. Wow.
how did she not see anything? I wonder if she wakes up the next day and
I was wondering the same thing.
That has got me.
And see, what I think, this is what I put together in my own head. He probably woke her up that next morning and said, hey, let's go to the store. So then he could probably have control where she went in the house, you know.
Got
like
you.
Okay,
that makes sense.
It seems like you would still hear something. Like, I mean.
Now, I definitely thought about that. Like, I know people sleep sound, but, and I also had trouble, like, in my mind, imagining him taking out each person one by one. So he must have attacked them in their sleep. I don't have any source that says that, but in my mind, I'm not sure how you were able to attack these 4 different people.
Yeah, especially grown people. Like, they're stronger than you. You're just 15.
This is a horrific crime that I've just never heard of anyone so young committing something, a crime so hideous. So after Joshua murdered his sister, his last victim, he dragged and stacked all 5 bodies into the master bedroom of his grandparents' home. He attempted to cover up his tracks by setting several fires, even setting fires to a few other condos near the crime scene. And afterwards, Joshua took the family's silver Mercedes-Benz in an effort to get away. The bodies of Joshua's family members were found shortly after firefighters put out the fire, and a description of Joshua was broadcasted all over the news in the local paper. The morning after the murders, Joshua was arrested at an AM/PM convenience store that he had stopped in to inquire about directions on what route to take to get to Nevada. The clerk in the store recognized Joshua and she called 911. When police arrived to arrest Joshua, he was verbally abusive, screaming all kinds of profanities. But one interesting thing that authorities realized was that Joshua was actually traveling with his grandparents' white poodle. So he spared the dog, but had basically killed his whole entire family.
Crazy. But that's usually how it goes. People will go crazy over some dogs. They will let some kids be out here hungry on the streets and everything, but they better not mess with them dogs. Exactly. It's gonna be a problem.
Wow.
Just like, and just real quick too, my thought was, at 15 years old, I know he was angry about being sent to that school, but what kind of life did he think he was going to actually live after killing his whole family and driving back to Vegas?
And what was the point of doing the little sister as well?
Right, exactly. Did he think he was going to just go back to the house and just live by himself forever? Anyway, initially, Joshua denied having anything to do with the murders, but within minutes, he ended up giving a full confession. He told authorities he killed his family as revenge for them sending him to that boarding school. He was quoted as saying, "The world's really messed up and I didn't want them to live in it anymore. Too much problems, too much hate." I don't know why he figured he would say that, because it
Usually you
doesn't.
don't hear the reasons behind like serial killings like that. They don't really want to speak on why they did it.
Right.
But he just bluntly just told them, "This is why I did it." Wow.
Even though he said that the world's really messed up and I didn't want them to live in it anymore, that don't really have anything to do with why he said he killed them.
Well, you said he didn't want to go, I guess, like revenge on sending him off to school, right? So by him saying that, that's what drew me in. Like,
you're talking about
okay,
that part of his reason.
yeah,
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah. So, you that mad, you big mad because
exactly
you went somewhere you didn't want to go,
right? And see, I took that as kind of him giving two different reasons. So one was the boarding school, but then the other side, you talking about you didn't want them to live here anymore.
The first one was the truth. The second one was a lie.
Exactly. Yep. So during the investigation, authorities were able to search that Vista condo where the grandparents live, and they did confiscate an axe. They also confiscated 2 claw hammers and also some bloody clothing. And I'm not familiar with what a claw hammer is, but I just wanted to note that they had those things that they confiscated. And then when they went to the Las Vegas home where he, was living with his parents before he was off at the boarding school, they were able to confiscate what was called a buck type knife from underneath the sofa cushions of an upstairs bedroom. They also took in evidence. Right. I don't know what a buck type knife is, but why was it underneath the sofa cushions? Exactly. But they also confiscated a diary as well as a book. They had 20 miscellaneous documents, photographs of undeveloped film, and a home video from the parents' master bedroom and living room. And they turned all that evidence over to the San Diego authorities. So initially, Joshua was charged with 5 counts of murder and 1 count of arson. Joshua ended up pleading not guilty to those charges against him by reason of insanity in a San Diego court, juvenile court. Wow. And he actually made that plea February 14th of that year. So psychiatrists in the case determined that Joshua was definitely mentally ill. They say he might have even been schizophrenic by clinical definition. But despite all of that, the mental health professionals concluded that he could not be considered legally insane. So in April 1997, the night before his trial was set to begin, he did change his plea to guilty. And that decision was basically made after the prosecution in the case decided to try Joshua as an adult. Ooh. So, they tried him as an adult. Wow. And when that trial started in April, it lasted about 5 weeks. And the jury consisted of 10 women and 2 men. And evidence showed that Joshua planned out the crimes, executed the crimes, took time to clean up afterwards, and tried to cover his tracks.
Shut up. And you're not insane. You're not insane.
I know, right? You know what you was doing.
Yeah.
Exactly. No. And also the fact that there was at least 1 phone call where he lied, as well as his failed attempts to escape back to his hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada. There's also a record from Joshua's school where he was asking a counselor if the quickest way to kill a person was by cutting their throat. And during that same conversation, he told the counselor, "Watch, I won't be back here next week."
And what did the counselor do with this information?
That's the same question I had, right? Because
I didn't
find a source that said what the counselor did with the information. But
they need to be fired at this point. Like, what
if they didn't report it, right? Because
I'm agreeing with Renee. She said a whole mouth. Thank you, Renee. Because I'm
because counselors, therapists, school counselors, they're all mandated reporters, and I'm pretty sure they were back at this time too. So for someone to talk about what's the quickest way to kill a person. Yeah, that definitely.
That should have been. You shouldn't even let him leave the school that day. It should have been straight phone call.
Exactly. And I don't have any type of information saying they didn't report it or what happened, but I mean, but they definitely have it on record. So hopefully it was reported, but what they did with it, I don't know. And just a quick side note, if Joshua had been found insane, he would have been sentenced to a state hospital. But if he was found sane, he would have faced a maximum of 140 years in prison. And the judge in this case called the family side, quote, vicious, savage, and almost incomprehensible. And Joshua was sentenced to 112 years in prison at the end of all of this with no chance of parole. However, just like a lot of these other criminals, he's definitely trying to appeal his case. So,
wow.
And my sources for this case were the cinemaholic.com, murderpedia.com, and also the LasVegasSun.com. But this one right here, it was very disturbing.
What's weird about that is I don't know. I go kind of back and forth on these when it's like teenagers get sentenced to the rest of their lives in prison for stuff that they did as a teenager.
Right.
Like,
but you did adult things.
That's true. I know it. That's why I keep going back and forth, because I'm just like, but then I'm like, there's just a kid at that, like the rest of their life. Like, so when they're 65 years old, they still can't, get out or any kind of redemption, nothing. So I don't know. But then, I mean, I understand it. I understand it in both ways. Yeah.
Like they can maybe change while they're in.
Yeah. Because I mean, situations, and he was adopted out, like stuff like that, it kind of affects you probably. And I don't know, I just think that there might have been some sort of kind of hope for him, maybe, maybe not. I mean,
I probably would say that if he had spared the sister, but you bluntly took her to where did you say, a hardware place to purchase the weapon, and then brought her back.
He took her there to purchase the axe that he used to kill her. And that is just so scary. And Renee, I do understand what you're saying, because I actually feel that way too, but on the non-violent offenses, like selling drugs or maybe some kind of assault but the person didn't die, like I feel that same way with some of those cases too. Like if you're 15, 16, even if you're 18 and you got this huge drug charge on you, or it was attempted murder because you beat somebody up and they almost died. Like I do feel like some of the cases is kind of like, okay, well, they're in their 30s or 40s now, let them out, but in
this one right here was
I don't have any
extreme
sympathy. In a case like this, I don't have any sympathy. However, I mean, from a psychological standpoint too, sometimes kids at 14, 15, 10, they don't even understand that death is permanent. Because they watch these video games. I mean, they play these video games, or they might watch movies. They may see an actor in a movie that
kind of like disassociation, right?
Exactly. Very similar.
Like they disassociate.
Yes. So, I mean, with all the different issues that he had, mentally, but they didn't say he was insane. I kind of feel like, did he really understand? Like, I'm mad at my parents because they sent me away to this school. But did he really understand what he was doing when he killed everybody? So sometimes I do wonder.
I know, because like, what was your plan for after you killed them? Then what? Like you said before, then what? What do you just go on with your life? You think that it's over now because you killed them?
Exactly.
That is just crazy, though.
Yeah.
And
and then I kind of wonder too, like we know that his parents, they didn't have any other kids. And then the grandparents, I don't know much about their lives. Did his parents have siblings? Where his aunts and uncles? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know anything about
where's your extended family.
But it's so sad because you were adopted into this nice family. They had no idea that adopting these young kids, and then here it is 15 years later, one of them will end up murdering your whole family. It just kind of gave me this weird feeling, because you just don't know what you're doing today in some ways, or in all ways will affect you tomorrow. But you never think about it to that extent, though. Such a sad, tragic story.
Yeah, that is.
Imagine being that young lady who called for her friend, and she's told, oh, your friend's busy, she can't come to the phone. And then you find out at 10 years old that your friend was murdered
by her own brother.
Exactly. Just terrible. But anyway, ladies and sippers, I think it is time to close the book on the case of Joshua Jenkins. Do y'all have anything else to add?
So where is he at right now?
I'm not sure what prison he's in. I'm not sure, but I mean, it's in the state of California, but I just know he is still in prison. He served however many years, 25 years so far, or almost 30 years so far, because that was in 97. And he's got the rest of those 112 years to go.
Yeah. Goodness.
Were you curious where he was at because you want to write him a letter or something like that?
See, let me just interject this. Let me say this real quick.
What's up?
Most of our cases are stemming from California. I know majority of the ones that I spoke on. Some about California. Is it the weather?
don't know.
You want to write
because
people?
we were
Write
on
some of them,
we were on Florida for a minute too.
We was on, it's all about them warmer states.
Right. Yep.
So who would you like to write, Renee? I'm just curious.
I'll write a few of these people. I would like to write some of the females though, probably just the ones who done these, crimes for men and stuff.
Really?
What's going on? But
what kind of questions would you ask
them? I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea, but I also wouldn't want them to have my address, so I'd use a PO box.
Oh, PO box.
Because I would write them to ask questions, because I would want to follow up to see like the ways of thinking, because how people report things and then it's probably something different how it went on in their head or whatever. So I was just curious.
Right. Okay.
So kind of like in the mind of a killer.
Sort of. Yeah. And it can be like a follow up kind of something if we had more information.
Because I know you're not trying to be pen pals.
Girl, no.
Okay.
Nope. I've only had one, and I'm good.
When are you gonna do that, Renee, so we can actually talk about it on our show?
Oh,
curiosity.
I'll put that on my to-do list. Then I gotta find somebody who we've already reported on, or somebody who I'm not scared of, that I will write and see if they'll write back.
It's the scary part for me.
Yeah.
You write
like some of the people are like real scared. Like, I don't want no contact. I don't need you to know my name. I even exist. I don't want none of that attached. But maybe the girl, I forgot the name, but it was a case that I did where there was living in, I think, Mississippi, where she killed the her boyfriend's pregnant fiance in the garage.
Oh yeah,
you remember that one?
Yeah, that was early on though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like in school getting her master's or something like that. Like, it was these educated people.
I do remember that case.
Mm-hmm.
He was a teacher. I think he was
a teacher. Okay.
He was like a coach or a teacher or something at the school.
Okay, I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to know, like, how did you, like, your whole life is gone now over a dude, and like, you really,
and he's walking free with a family.
That's what I was getting
with a whole nother family.
With a whole nother family.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-mm.
So yeah, that'll be an interesting something to see if she might write me back.
But anyway, all right. Well, I'm glad we closed the book on Joshua
Jenkins.
Yes, I was so sidetracked a little bit in my head because
I know now you got me intrigued with the story. I'm like, let me look at his photo.
All right, so we're gonna move on into our missing persons segment. I'm just gonna give a quick summary. The missing person case I want to focus on is the missing person case of Ashante Jones, who was 17 at the time that she disappeared from Las Vegas, Nevada, and that was back in June 2019. When she disappeared, she was 5 feet 11 inches tall, and she was 135 pounds, and she is an African-American female of light complexion, and the circumstances around her disappearance are very, very, very vague. All the information that I have about Ashante Jones, it'll be posted on our Instagram page and our Facebook page, and it'll also be a phone number for if anyone out here, any of our listeners recognize her face or may know her whereabouts. There'll be some phone numbers for anyone to call and give anonymous information on that particular missing persons case. All right, so on a lighter note, I want to move into a spill the wine. Oh, let me just take a sip real quick. Let me just, because I
know I'm over here.
Between the case that we discussed and the missing person and any of our listeners who are still here, y'all already know the deal. We talk about our case.
Who's out?
Talk about,
that's me. I'm out.
That you out?
Case, yeah.
Heard that.
I had to slurp the last drop.
Hey.
Yeah, so I just wanted y'all to make sure you take another sip real quick. So, okay, ladies and sippers, now we're going to move into a segment on our show called Spill the Wine. Our Spill the Wine segment is where you, our sippers, send us an email or a DM asking our opinions about a situation that you need some advice on. The three of us will give our separate viewpoints and share our opinions about how you should resolve the issue. Just keep in mind that when you do submit any of your Spill the Wines, the submissions are anonymous and we will never share your identity. So with that being said, ladies, here is our Spill the Wine for today.
Let's get into it.
Yes. This person says, hello, ladies. I have a serious dilemma. I lost my job because of COVID and I've been home for the past year. My husband works, but his job is barely enough to cover our bills. So for the past 9 months or so, I have had an OnlyFans account. Ooh. I've been making pretty good money on there to help with the bills and groceries. And my husband thinks I found an online job. But recently, 3 or 4 weeks ago, one of his friends came across my OnlyFans page. And now that friend, who was pretty close to my husband, he's threatening to tell my man that I have an OnlyFans page.
Don't threaten, bitch.
And he's He's threatening to share my content with other people if I don't tell my husband what's going on. So, ladies, please tell me if you could just imagine being in this situation.
Never give someone outside your marriage that much power.
Yep, I was going to tell my husband right then and there.
Snitch on me if you want. Snitch.
Yeah, this might be the first night that we all agree with the same response.
I don't do that.
Telling.
Because my thing is, my take on it, what I would do is I'll tell my husband immediately, let him know, because you're not gonna hold nothing over my head. And then what I will do is I'll flip that shit and I'll be like, look, hubby, your best friend over here saying he's gonna put my stuff out. What you gonna do about it? And let them fight it out. And they'll be their issue. You know, like that's your friend, but he's about to put your wife's stuff out.
First of all, why you watching my
well, you gonna watch. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he definitely was gonna come across that and sit on that page for a minute. He probably subscribe. Don't you have to subscribe?
Yep.
And pay for it. Yeah.
So what you doing on there? Why you watching me?
Yeah,
that's natural though. I mean, like,
I don't want to see none of my husband friends. If y'all listening, I love y'all to death, but I don't want to see.
Yeah, but if you come across somebody, I'd be like, what? Oh my God.
I don't want to see none of my husband's friends either, but even
I know that's what I'm saying. You're gonna be like, wait a minute, what is they doing?
It's not even about the curiosity. And you know, I try to stay out of gossiping and all that kind of stuff, but child, honey boom boom kitty, that makes for some good tea to talk about the fact that I didn't came across one of the friends. I might not be interested, but I'm gonna go to the girls group chat and share the link so they can all
like, y'all look.
Like, yeah, I ain't interested. I'm gonna tell the girls about it, so they
especially
if
it's somebody we all know. Like if it's something we all know, that person.
That might be different.
What they doing?
But yeah, he wouldn't have power over me like that. Not my marriage. You're not gonna control my narrative.
No matter how hard that discussion will be, because of course he's probably gonna be upset.
Because it's gonna come out anyway.
And he's probably gonna be mad that she didn't tell him. But then if you look at it on the flip side, she was able to help out with the bills.
Yeah.
He thought,
and it was an online job.
Exactly, it was.
It is an online job.
Now, but I am curious about, because there's levels to the whole OnlyFans situation. So
now that I didn't know.
Then you got people that just dance with their clothes on. They might have a thong on. And then that's one level. But then you got people that's on there having sex with their partner.
Different levels of erotica.
She was on with OnlyFans, but she didn't get into those details. But I kind of feel like either way it goes, whether the friend tells her husband or whether she tells him herself, it's going to definitely open up a huge can of worms for anybody's husband. Because he's probably going to be like, well, show me your page. What are you doing over here? Who are these people that you're engaging with? You know, so that is a mess.
I would try my best to flip it so hard on that friend to make it that they, don't talk to each other.
I can.
So I'll just be like, because you're not, because if you come to me like that, like you're gonna blackmail me or you're trying to hold that over my head. No, I don't have nothing for you. Now I want you over my house no more. Y'all not friends no more. All that.
So the husband's probably gonna be like, I hear you, but that's my homeboy. So bros over hoes.
But I'm saying, but your homeboy is about to go and spray your wife's nudes everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, is that still gonna be your homeboy though?
He threatened it. He probably was calling her bluff or whatever. Yeah, he definitely threatened it. You're right.
Yeah. So I'm saying, okay.
He didn't do it.
You will not control my marriage narrative. You won't do it. So I'm with Renee. I'm gonna come over there. I'm gonna flip it on your behind. You will not control no narrative over here.
Yeah, I don't know how far the conversation will go with me as far as flipping it or whatever, but I definitely will try to tell my spouse before somebody else does at this point. Because it's kind of like, okay,
that's your only hope.
Talk about it, but
get to them first.
Exactly. And something else I thought about too is kind of like, even though the man said he would share whatever the content is, he probably already told some of the homeboys.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. Because we all know that the men gossip more than the women. Right?
I'm sure he showed some folks. You wouldn't go to the wife first. That was probably after it already got out or after you sent it out and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you ain't gonna just hold on to that kind of tea.
Yeah, too bad she couldn't have shared that with her husband before she decided to do it. Because it's always kind of weird when people think they're gonna tell your spouse on you or
Yeah,
ask
like
you questions like, does your spouse know you do this or do
Yeah.
that?
mhm.
You know, and it's kind of weird
Right.
because first
It's
of all,
weird to
why do you
even
want
say
to
that to
know?
somebody though. Like
Number
just even
two,
have that thought to say that to somebody. I don't know. It's just
yeah,
weird.
I mean, I guess
That's very bold. Very,
people are
very
very curious
bold.
about other
It's
people's
weird.
situations though. Some people
Mhm.
speak about
Like,
it
'cause
and
I
some
don't know
people
what's
keep it to
going on up in
themselves.
y'all's household. Like, I don't like
Right.
what the hell you
Right.
gonna say that for? Like, I don't like it's weird. I don't know. Oh
But
no, yeah, no, I'm just saying it's
yeah,
just weird that people who do that, like I don't understand, like, okay, well, what
Because
about you?
because
Like,
9 times out
like,
of 10 they aren't married or in a serious
well, even
relationship.
if
So
they
they
are,
have
it's just I don't know. It's just weird to ask about somebody's relationship like that.
I
Like,
feel
you don't
like
know
it
what
is
people got
too.
going on in their house.
Stop asking married people about their married business.
Mm-hmm.
Like to that friend of her husband's, he probably don't have no woman. He's
Yep,
single
that's what I'm
and
saying.
Mm-hmm.
Nine
probably don't
times
have
out
no
of 10,
woman.
he miserable and just
It's
want
like,
to. You're not
yeah,
gonna
like
control my narrative
yes.
though. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, spin your own narrative. Don't let him
Yeah.
control it.
Hopefully y'all can work it through. I got a question though. So if you knew you was doing this and you didn't want nobody to know, why you put your face in there?
Exactly.
Ooh,
Oh,
you
Yeah.
could have went neck down, straight
Nick
up, neck down, would
is
nobody know. So if
Man.
you
okay. I
still
didn't.
want to do it, take down that page, but just do another one and don't put your face in it. I'm just
Those
saying,
are the
right?
thoughts and suggestions from Renee only.
And
Her
I'm
thoughts and
saying,
views do not
I know there's
represent
some good,
all
I
three of
know it's
us.
some good money up in that. I know it's some
I
good money.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was an interesting one. But thanks, ladies, for giving your opinions. And
yeah.
like I
wishing you
said,
best
first
of
time ever,
luck.
I think we all agree on
I
that first
know,
part
right?
of going and tell your husband, sit down and have a talk with him. I hope
Mm.
it works out. Because I mean, at
Oh
the end of the day,
yeah.
she was doing something legal to try to support
Yeah,
her family.
right.
And I'm not even mad
Yeah.
about that.
She providing for her family.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, ladies, y'all know what time it is. It's like we
It's
always
time
dread
for us
getting
to
the
say
end.
goodbye.
Um,
I
Yeah,
had fun though.
I did too. I
Talking to
always
you
have a good
guys,
time
you know.
recording. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, this was a very good true crime, and hoping that the missing person comes up because I hate to hear
yep.
those. They're so sad.
Right.
And one more thing, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe,
Share,
and
share, Care Bear, share.
Yes, please. All of the above. All right, sippers and ladies, this
Alrighty.
concludes this week's episode of Sippin' and Wine True Crime Podcast.
And we out.
Bye,
Oh.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
All right,
sippers.
bye.